What you're about to hear is the first episode of AIPAC Zombies series that was conceived by one of my friends, Palestinian drag performer and founder of the Hala Collective, Mama Ganuush. And we created the show as an excuse to hang out on a regular basis to start with, and then also with the hope that we can arm you with details about people in American culture who have been infected by Zionism and who have been instrumental in helping the genocide and further colonization of Palestine go on. Traditional media and social media has really done the most extensive censorship job around Palestine, by far the worst that I've ever seen in my 20 years of doing more traditional journalism. You have Israel straight up assassinating journalists on the ground in Gaza. To me, the fact that Zionists are so concerned with keeping the genocide hidden and controlling information, controlling the narrative, to me, the effort that they're going to just sort of clarifies the fact that people doing media here in the US need to continue to lean even harder into covering Palestine. And so this is just one small project trying to do that. It's in a new format that we have not done on the podcast. It's in the vein of a lot of other podcasts out there, Behind the Bastards, Bad Gays, where some of the worst villains in history are sort of fleshed out to help all of us figure out how they're emboldening the other Zionists, racists, imperialists, and fascists in society. If you're new to this podcast feed in general, on Wednesdays, we're going to have new episodes of AIPAC Zombies, and Mondays will be new episodes of San Francisco. And that is where you can find people who are much smarter than me coming on to discuss ways to bring us closer to the end of capitalism. Thank you for listening, and here's the first episode of AIPAC Zombies. This is AIPAC Zombies, and it's a show where we're going to take somebody who is in the greater AIPAC universe, so somebody who has been claimed, I guess, by the Zionists, claimed by the pro-Israel crowd, so that I don't trust almost anything that they do, because at the end of the day, the people we're going to be talking about are into the genocide in Gaza right now. We're going to put a face to people who have taken the devil's bargain and basically pledged allegiance to organizations like AIPAC, which is the American Israeli Political Action Committee, AIPAC, the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, a misnomer, organizations that exist solely to prop up Israel and all of the nefarious things that it is doing. And why the name, I guess, is something that we've already been asked, even though this is our first episode, asked by friends. Zombies. Zombies, I think, are it's a good name for the people that we're going to discuss, because these are people that are funded by Zionists. They're basically animated. They feed off of these donations and the cultural clout they get by aligning themselves with conservative right-wing forces that are pro-Israel. I would say that even if their vibe is giving liberal or progressive, at their core, their very basic ideology is that they're making the genocide possible. They are these deadly figures in our culture.
And AIPAC is bringing everybody down, whether there's a genocide in Palestine or another genocide in Haiti. There's always an involvement that kind of connects it back to AIPAC.
Yeah. And we'll, of course, be discussing those connections along the way. And for people who have not listened to San Francisco, another podcast, which you should check out, we can say a little bit about who we are and why we felt compelled to do this series specifically. I mean, first off, we wanted a project to work on together. And so I'm stoked for that reason alone. But beyond that, I am a journalist. My name is Toshio Moronic. I host another podcast that Mama Ganuush, my co-host, has been on quite a few times, called Sad Francisco. It's about the Bay Area, but also beyond the Bay Area. You know, we're talking about like neoliberal isms, how neoliberal policies and ideas have been innovated in the Bay Area and beyond, and have become dominant culture against my will and against the will of a lot of other people who are listening to the podcast and friends of ours. I also have done a bunch of journalism for places like Al Jazeera in these times, Truth Out, and if you want to check it out, I have a book that's out with a mentor called Miss Major. It's called Miss Major Speaks, out now from Verso. So that is a little bit about me. I'm also a member of a collective that was founded by Mama Ganuush, who I will pass it off to, called the Hala Collective. Do you want to talk about yourself as well as the collective?
Oh yeah, I am Mama Ganuush, the last brown trans person who lives in the neighborhood.
Castro.
The Castro in San Francisco, on occupied Ohlone lands. I am a drag artist. I am retired due to my disability. So I'm a disabled old whore with MS. And I am the co-founder of the Hala Collective, with my partner Zach and other people like Toshio. I am Palestinian, and I also do few events around the city. And this is a very passion project for me, just because AIPAC Zombies are everywhere now, not just in San Francisco. They might be in your own neighborhood, wherever you are right now.
Yeah. The point is to, hopefully give some people a human/zombie face behind some of the characters who are really out there, like trying to forward the message of Zionism, the message of the pro-Israel crowd. And we'll give you some info about like where their funding is coming from in the greater AIPAC universe, and some of their like past examples of their Zionism, perhaps like when they might have turned into a Zionist, if there was a turning point. Basically, try to give you a biographical sketch of who these people are, and yeah.
And also, like, something to think about is like, they go for pro-Israeli needs, but also a lot of them consider themselves liberal sometimes, where they go after and against every liberal and progressive value.
Yeah.
And this will make sure to talk about this more.
I think that for me is like the most interesting kind of character. So for the first episode, it's going to be kind of loose. This is like this is our first try. Please be kind and give us lots of feedback if you have any. Also, if you have suggestions for people who you would be interested in us taking a deep dive around, people who maybe haven't gotten as much attention for their Zionism as you think they should, let us know. Yeah, reach out. In the show notes, we'll have all the ways to contact us. So for episode 1, I don't know how famous he is outside of California, and even within California, you got to be like paying attention to politics, but certainly in San Francisco politics, he is well known. He is well known as the highest ranking gay politician in California politics.
We're talking about okay.
His name is Scott Wiener.
Yay!
And so Scott Wiener, when did you first become aware of Scott Wiener?
Oh, yeah, because he used to be the supervisor of the Castro.
Yeah.
And he banned nudism because some
Yeah.
NIMBYs around the neighborhood didn't like to see, live in the neighborhood, but they didn't like to see a lot of naked people walking around.
Right.
And that's the first interaction I had with him because I didn't like that he did this. However, I've seen him at Kabuki Springs all the time.
The hot springs.
The hot spring, the Japanese bathhouse. I've seen him naked. I've seen him in different positions. So I was very surprised by him not liking the nudism thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's like a point of hypocrisy that I think pertains to a lot of the Zionists we're going to talk about on the show. In spite of being somebody who likes to flaunt whatever he's got in front of people when he's naked.
He's well equipped, I would say.
Okay, good to know. He, at the same time, like is outlawing, something that he participates in, the weirdness, the like sort of self-loathing that goes on there. This gay club at the Castro, where he was doing a fundraiser for one of his supervisorial campaigns, and it was like a YIMBY-led campaign. People who don't know about YIMBY, it's basically a PR campaign for housing developers and the real estate industry at large. And Scott's, that's like one of his pet projects is propping up rich landlords. So it was at a protest for his campaign. Was when I first unfortunately became aware.
And I don't know if it's a vampire thing or a zombie thing, but he didn't change. Like first time I saw him, the Kabuki, I mean, I recognized like the face kind of because I saw him around the neighborhood. It was like 16 years ago, and he has the same face. It's kind of scary.
I mean, yeah, as the undead are wont to do. Frozen in time.
I was like, how did you do that? Wow. Yes.
So
I don't want to go into like a QAnon conspiracy. This is not the show for it. I don't believe in these conspiracies, but with Scott, you never know.
Yeah. So he is one of those people though, like he does look the same as when I first remember becoming aware of him, which was maybe as long as 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Now. So he's 54.
Oh wow.
We'll get into his bio a bit.
Oh gosh.
He is known for being very tall. He's 6'7", bespectacled white dude, born in Philly.
Oh, he's not even from San Francisco?
No.
What the hell?
No.
Oh, is he related to the other Wiener who was like flashing his dick on Twitter?
Although,
Anthony Wiener.
I could see, where you might get that impression because
like the Wiener family.
he does give the same vibes as the other Wiener, Anthony Wiener.
Yeah,
I think it was. And so he was born in Philly. Soon after, he moved to New Jersey with his family, and his parents helped to form the town of Turnerville, New Jersey's first synagogue. And as a result of being Jewish, he did experience anti-Semitism growing up. Don't think we need to say this, but anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism, very different things, despite what a lot of people are trying to push. Very different things. Mm-hmm. One is about Israel and nationalism and genocide and war, and the other is being against somebody. The anti-Semitism is an anti-religious sentiment.
Yep. Also, being bullied doesn't give you the justification to be harmful or like acting like sociopathic with people when you're adult.
It's like a replication of the bullying that
we're both queer. We got bullied a lot.
That you experienced growing up. And so now he's using his post as the top gay politician in California.
I thought that's the new VP. What's his name?
The new
Trump vice
VP.
president. I thought this is the topic.
Just in California.
Okay,
Yeah. No, I mean, allegedly, Vance has had, some dalliances, but also like he's a Peter Thiel acolyte, which means, I don't know.
That sounds like a drag name.
All those people, the Peter Thiel, who is gay and is out as gay, like all the people that are obsessed with Peter Thiel.
Oh wow!
I just wonder. Interestingly, one of the first times Scott engaged in politics directly was in a campaign against Christian prayer at the local public schools in New Jersey in high school, and he said that because of the campaign that he was involved with in like kind of separating church and state, he said that some conservative Christians singled him out and that someone anonymously threatened to burn a cross on his family's lawn. It didn't go further than the threat, but it stayed with him. And the reason that I say it's kind of interesting is that, he's clearly advocating from an early age for more of a separation between church and state. But, one thing that we know about, Zionism is how it's sort of like trying to tack the, state of Israel, where the Israeli Knesset, their parliament, recently reaffirmed as a basic law that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people. So it's like kind of out of our support for this religious ethno-state called Israel is basically kind of bringing religion back into the mix by like choosing them as our number one ally, I guess.
Oh yeah, and also he upholds like evangelical Puritanism with like something like the public nudism ban to appeal for a bunch of like Catholics who live in the neighborhood.
No, totally.
You know what I mean? So it's just very it's very hypocritical to me. I didn't realize that he was like anti-church and state. I always assumed that he's like into like evangelical things, because I see him hang out with a lot of very conservative people. Yeah,
I mean, he seems to be like he's a classic politician. Like he goes where the power sources are, and he's willing to bend whatever conscience he may have for to get closer to that power. It seems like he went to Duke and then Harvard Law. So very Ivy League education.
Yeah.
Of course, both of these places, like in particular, Harvard has produced a lot of
wieners.
Our worst, America's worst. And soon after graduating from Harvard, he moved in '97 to the Castro.
Oh gosh.
And he started working for the global corporate law firm that at the time was called Heller Ehrman, LLP. And they basically, did a lot of corporate law, defend corporations that ultimately are trying to do what they can to remake justice so that it serves only the elite.
I don't really know why he would do that, but I know the effect on this, that he's really good at doing it.
It's true. It's true.
He's very good about defending corporate and making up, making it so personal and so sounds very liberal.
Yeah,
I think he's failing though. It's too clear.
I mean, a lot of people, the times that I've seen him in town, I was part of a crew that went to do a protest at the Cherry Blossom Festival in Japantown where he was getting an award. And so he rolled up in this convertible and he was completely alone apart from the driver. And when I see him out and about, in the city, which isn't that often, I presume a lot of his time is spent in Sacramento or maybe in Israel. as we'll talk about a little bit later.
Or in Steamworks in Oakland. Though I don't know if it's.
I just don't know. Oh, really?
Maybe it's just an ad. I don't know. Anyways, yes, you can see him at all the bathhouses, which is not a bad thing. It's not a shame. It's actually the one good thing I think I kind of relate to him.
That's his only relatable content.
Yeah.
For me, but he in 2010. He was elected to the board of supervisors after working for this corporate law firm. He decided he wanted to enter politics. He ran successfully in 2010. Got elected to the board of supervisors, which in San Francisco is sort of like the city council. And I was looking at some ethics commission filings for San Francisco where as early as 2012, during his first term as Castro supervisor, the Haas Goldman family, they're famous for the Levi's?
Yeah, they're
Skyans? Yeah. The Levi's family, basically Levi Strauss family, funded a trip for him and some other politicians to Israel. And since then, I feel like he's been basically like a mascot for the JCRC, which is the Bay Area's, like, I think, big kind of premier Zionist hub, I would say.
Like Zionist Central.
Yeah,
but also
JCRC.
He's one of the key members of the California Jewish Caucus.
Yes.
Which is basically doesn't represent really all Jews, represent Zionist Jews and a lot of evangelical people too, like a lot of rich families, like the Nixons like support them with things and like, you know. Yeah.
Not some great names in that particular committee. So like, what was I going to say? Let's see. I'll talk a little bit more about his Zionism.
Is he single?
I don't know. I couldn't find more information about that.
Yeah, I know that he like a lot of like the approach of Orientalism. Like he likes kind of brown guys who like are twinky looking. That's based on personal experience, not because of me, but people I know around. But that's like not far enough for me. Like I've always seen that sort of stereotypical, like, you know, white gay who's like always around, like, you know, people of color who are like tiny and cute, and he doesn't talk to anyone else, even if you're constituents. If you're not cute enough. And he's been my neighbor for years, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I talk him off every tree. Like he's so tall.
Sometimes I see him, like he does go to Fitness SF, the gym in the Castro, kind of.
He doesn't clean after himself.
Oh, really?
Like
okay, good to know.
Like, yeah, and he sweats a lot. It's so gross.
I know that he has hit on my friend who is Japanese American multiple times on Grindr.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right about the Orientalism. Yeah. So he is also commonly featured in media outlets like the Times of Israel.
Oh gosh.
You know, these like Zionist news sources that are based in Israel and have English versions so that they can attempt to infect people overseas, specifically in the US, with their propaganda. He also has specifically talked about how the targeted harassment of Jewish elected officials is wrong, dangerous, and anti-Semitic. That's actually a quote from the JCRC on Twitter. But
so people are not allowed to like protest him, or what?
Right. So even though he is a politician, and the idea when you become a politician, you're supposed to serve the people that you are alleging to represent.
Yeah.
And if you do not do that, and if you are somebody who is promoting genocide by taking trips to Israel back and forth, that wasn't the last trip to Israel for sure that I mentioned earlier. Since then, he's been to Israel many times, including most recently, I think it was earlier this year, I want to say in February, he went on I don't know if it was AIPAC, but it was like a related organization took him and some other politicians to go to Israel to, try to reaffirm basically the idea that Israel, would be buying or being donated more the weapons to do genocide by the U.S. And so he was one of the politicians selected for that trip. He also went shortly after October 7th, 2023, to, I guess go show his support.
It's just funny because he always talks about how he's so against like the conservative, it's not conservatives, it's like the genocidal Israeli prime minister. Like he always talks about Netanyahu, that he doesn't agree really. But I feel like but that's like just on paper, like how, when you see Biden or even Trump sometimes says like things like he doesn't agree on how we approach this. But also as a Zionist, it's not like a new thing where he blames like normal things that happen to anyone just because it's Zionist, they have to like pull the Zionist blame, which is basically if anyone get protested, like Netanyahu is literally being called out as a war criminal and asked by the ICC, and he thinks that this is unfair or this is like anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I feel like Scott Wiener assumes that just because he's a really bad politician also when it comes to like serving his constituents, not corporate, when he is protested about this, he always pulled the anti-Semitic card.
Yeah. I mean, he is one of those people who has turned the term anti-Semitism into a useless term. Like it's hard to take it seriously because there's so many Zionists who have used it in such a cynical way that it has lost its weight that it used to have. For me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have a lot of Jewish friends who are experiencing anti-Semitism by Zionists all the time.
He, also like talks about how he, as Jewish politician, is the victim of so much harassment online. Also, as a gay politician, he gets a lot of harassment. Like you go to Reddit, you see the boards where people are, talking about his sexuality, and you can't deny that people are bigoted. But he, from his place of power, also has, like the bully becomes, or the bullied becomes the bully. He repeatedly has used his social media, like Twitter, to go after individual protesters who are showing solidarity with Palestinians, and he, including some friends of mine, and
including queer people.
Queer
people that he doxed, and not because he did anything, they just protested for a ceasefire. And also protested his policies, like like this poor black woman that he incarcerated for 2 years.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about Sonia Wells in a sec. We can talk about some of his policies as well, actually. I'll start by saying how he has been very bad on gentrification. Like he is a big receiver of real estate industry funding, as a lot of politicians are, unfortunately. And so that has meant that he is very pro real estate. And in San Francisco specifically, he joined up with the Yimbies, the Yes in My Backyard crew. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's like a PR campaign to create like an astroturfed fake grassroots campaign to give landlords a makeover, because everybody hates landlords unless you are a landlord. And the Yimbies, they favor trickle-down economics. They think we just got to give more tax cuts to the rich, and eventually, it'll trickle down.
Did he not host at Manny's? Manny hosted with Scott Wiener this panel about discussion about how to criticize your landlord without bullying.
Oh no! I didn't hear about that.
Then it's actually real. Like,
wow. Because landlords have feelings too, apparently. The people that evict
Vanguard has
families
Vanguard has feelings
every day. I know, the corporate landlords. That's another thing that the Yimbies really push. People like Scott Wiener really push is like, you got to remember all the mom and pop landlords out there, like people trying to push these PR campaigns will always point to the relatively, basically non-existent, because so much of the money in real estate is increasingly corporate money. So like these nameless, faceless corporations own more and more of the land and the apartments and the condos, but also even the quote unquote mom and pop landlords, like it'll be people who own 5 or 6 houses in some cases. Me and most of my friends, to think of being able to own 5 houses, that is a rich person. That is the mom and pop association. It doesn't work.
Maybe his mom and pop.
Maybe that's where he,
the Miss and Mrs. Wiener.
In New Jersey, maybe that's more the vibe. I don't know. So he also calls upon, he does this insidious thing of calling upon basically the Holocaust to go after anti-gentrification activists. So in a quote, I'll just quote him, if you look at the history of the Jews, we've at times been told where we have to live, segregated away from other members of the community, even put in ghettos. And there's a certain xenophobia, reaction against new people moving in, people who might be a little different. And we see that as a recurring theme in some of these housing fights. So.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
That is so appalling. Do people actually listen to this? Or maybe the audience are like this, sort of real estate investors who doesn't want to feel the guilt.
Right. They want to feel like they're the victims of the tenants who are coming for them and their riches, I guess.
Which is funny because it's how Paul, Paul in theory.
You'll have to remind me.
St. Paul, how he basically distributed or got a lot of Romans to adopt Christianity, which was a cult at that time, by making them feel not guilty for the killing of Jesus. You know what I mean? And blame it on the Jews, which is basically started this whole anti-Semitism thing. The idea of just telling some rich people in power that it's okay to harm and it's not your fault, it's other people's fault.
Right.
It's literally what started anti-Semitism in the world.
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me as an allegory. I mean, it's pretty the self-victimization of the landlord, and to juxtapose that with the Holocaust, I think that is it's sick. I have, unfortunately, as somebody who's Japanese American, there are a few wealthy Japanese Americans who will always call back on the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II when people were sent to camps in the US. They'll call on that to support some conservative values or some conservative policies that they're pushing. And those are things that I think we all have to be calling out at all times. Scott Wiener should not have been able to show his face after comparing the work of anti-gentrification activists who are trying to keep people in their homes when they're being evicted by extremely rich landlords, and newcomers to a city who are trying to colonize the area and make it into their own utopia. He's comparing those newcomers and those landlords to people who died during the Holocaust.
Yeah, killing of 6.5 million Jews and more, in a Holocaust, the burning of human beings. You know what I mean? This is so, and also, he is extremely privileged. He comes from a very wealthy family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you said that. This is just pisses me off so much.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that people would actually sit down and listen. I was like, oh yeah, clap. And I was like, wow, this is an incredible moment of clarity that we realize that the the people have been gentrified and thrown out on the street are also the new Nazis now.
Right,
you know?
right. For like actually like standing up and saying like, no, I don't want to be evicted. No, I don't want to like have to like sleep on the streets.
Yeah.
Where he has made it even harder for people. Like he was the person that was behind a lot of the removal of park benches throughout the Castro. That's how anti-homeless he is. There's a lot of what's it called? Like defensive architecture, quote unquote.
Flower pots, so nobody would sleep.
Right. Like making sure that
that's Raphael Mendelman, but that's also
yeah. There's so many people that are in his in the vein of a Scott Wiener, like doing this kind of like making it as hard as possible for people who, in many cases, are from San Francisco, have lived here their entire lives, like, are living in a city with at least 60,000 empty homes at any moment that could be opened up to people. And here he is like defending, throwing the park benches out just because like he thinks that they're attracting unhoused people. You mentioned he oversaw the local nudity ban. He also, like, somewhat more recently, he caved to the restaurant lobby. So, like, the McDonald's of the world, the Starbucks of the world. So now it remains legal in California for restaurants to add junk fees or surcharges to the end of your bill without telling you first. And I mean, I don't know who, other than restaurants, the restaurant industry, I guess, still finds some use in hiding charges from people who come in to eat at the restaurants. But even some restaurant owners are like, why is this a practice that we're doing? Like, so the idea behind hiding charges, like, for example, in San Francisco, you'll sometimes find at the end of a receipt, like somebody put healthcare fee for workers, which if we lived in a better society, healthcare would not be such an issue. Yeah. San Francisco
and we paid by the state, not by the people.
Yeah.
Because the people paid the state taxes.
Like, isn't the idea with the state, like, to take care of the people who live there? Certainly in Israel, they have free healthcare.
Yeah.
And it's so ludicrous that we don't have it here. But one way that, the government of San Francisco has, alleviated people who are lower income and work lower income jobs, including in restaurants, is to charge the business owners for that healthcare. And businesses hate that. There are certain people who are only interested in profits. They don't care about their employees. So in any case, bottom line, Scott is one of the people who has defended these surcharges and these hidden fees that end up on our
also the junk
receipts.
Fee on the consumer is horrible for environment, calling out all the environmental people out there, because basically businesses have to be responsible for getting rid of their waste and their junk and feed people like food that is healthy and acceptable, but also get rid of their waste in a way that is sustainable.
Yeah.
And the idea that pushing that on consumers in general is just doesn't give any responsibility for the businesses. But again, he's a corporate lawyer. He defends businesses.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's a good
and he
point.
comes from a long line of wieners. They're like really famous about
it. So there was part of his narrative is that even though he oversaw the local nudity ban, he is, allegedly for queer rights, for LGBTQ plus rights. And so like a photo of him shirtless, except for a leather harness at Folsom Street Fair went locally viral. Folsom Street Fair, of course, is the kink festival that is one of the city's largest moneymakers and one of the largest open-air festivals, full stop.
Where you could be naked, because Scott kept festivals... Oh, by the way, the regulations about banning nudism is okay except for festivals. And probably because just Scott likes to go to Folsom. Right.
Yeah. So, of course, a lot of right-wing people came for him for this photo, which is probably the most famous photo of him. And
it's not even a thing. He was shirtless with a jacket. And he has a bad facelift.
Yeah, but he flipped it into like, this is anti-gay. They're coming for me because I'm gay. And so it did give him more fodder, unfortunately, for his victim complex.
Oh, yeah.
And he has used it in a way that is very insidious to say like, oh, the Fox News people, the right wing, they're coming for me, which is true. However, he does the thing where he has, he paints himself almost as the left and the progressive kind of voice in a place like San Francisco, because in a place like San Francisco, there still are, despite like recent elections where, people voted for another person who is very pro AIPAC and may end up being more conservative than our previous mayor. So
we'll have more tea about him in a separate episode.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Daniel Lurie. So he, Scott, uses this idea that he is progressive around social issues and definitely works that victim angle to bring in policies that are harmful to, people who are low income, people who aren't landlords, people who are in Palestine.
And also, like, if we go simple back to democracy, because I know we live in an oligarchy right now, look at his track record. Most of his votes are conservative. Most of his votes were for conservative needs. For example, for the charter schools, like turning public schools into charter schools. His voting and support for corporate expansion against people's need. Also, his bill that he passed to make sure that all the corporate and all the business, all the real estate development could build more condos that nobody could live in, instead of actually housing people in open units. Yeah. He was against the real estate tax. If there is like no occupancy tax, I think he somehow said that he introduced that, but somehow he voted against it. So it's like his voting record is very much consistent only when it comes to like identity politics.
Right.
Which is basically free PrEP, because he is on PrEP. Like, you know what I mean? Which makes sense. Like, if you're on PrEP, it's good to have PrEP, of course, for everybody. But I mean, like, it's very selective on what actually makes sense for him.
Right.
And makes his life like more feasible. But his track record has always not been progressive. It's center, if not center right. Really.
Right. Like, he was the chair of the Alice B. Toklas Democratic Club, which is like a gay electoral club in San Francisco that is considered to be like sort of the right-wing gays, the pro-corporate gays.
The Kevin Lodge Republican people.
Log Cabin, Republican.
Log Cabin. There's some of them in that ship.
Totally.
Turn out.
Yeah, and he has been like very pro-war on drugs, except for when it comes to his friends, I guess, in the tech C-suites. Like, he's been for like legalizing psilocybin, but going harder after people who are selling drugs on the street or using drugs that I guess would be considered like lower class, like fentanyl and things like that. It's a common, of course, like a common way to get corporate funders, like more cops.
He was also with a proposition. Like, he was together as his lobby and himself were with the proposition for expanding like police surveillance to public cameras and private property cameras without permission. Like they have the right to take this information. That's also a little Wiener.
Yeah, which leads me to his next like one moment in time that I think is probably his most famous like run-in with the law, which you referred to earlier, was when he got Sonia Wells, Black woman who was unhoused at the time, jailed for stealing his phone. And she was convicted of taking his iPhone from him at the 16th Street Mission BART station in December 2015. Wiener quickly negotiated using those lawyer skills with Wells to accompany him to a nearby ATM and promised that he would pay her $200 for the return of the phone.
Yeah.
But I guess the entire time, he was sort of stalling to make sure that he was able to get her, soon arrested.
Yeah.
And the stakes of the case grew when the DA's office in San Francisco charged Wells with kidnapping for ransom.
Yeah, she kidnapped 7-foot Scott Wiener.
I mean, she
this poor Black
allegedly,
woman,
totally. And that's a charge that could have sent her to prison for life. So he was ostensibly, he's a politician at the time on board with that.
He's the one who did the he pursued charges.
Yeah.
Like he didn't drop the charges.
Right.
Pursued charges for $200.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the kind of like vindictiveness.
Did she get a sentence or something
it's
for 2 years?
You're like a politician. I'm sure that there was some juicy stuff on it, and he was probably scared as hell about that getting out.
Yeah.
However,
Netanyahu like plays crosswords with him on there or something.
You're somebody who has a job where they will buy the phone for you. Like, do you really need to be sending somebody to jail potentially for life?
For $200.
Yeah. And I guess, the last thing that I will say about him is like he has been really good at, doing that San Francisco neoliberal thing of, appealing to the fact that he's gay and Jewish, and using that as means for doing all of the nefarious things, giving cover to those things.
Do you consider him an AIPAC zombie?
I don't know. With him, it does feel like it's kind of ideological. Like if he's been somebody who's been going to Israel,
he's a believer
so often throughout his life, and certainly like his professional life. Like he's been there many, many times since he got elected in 2010.
So he's like an AIPAC Frankenstein?
He's like he's like level 3, level 4
he's
zombie.
The maker.
He's definitely more like a higher level villain. I mean, he's gunning for like state senate, or he is in state senate, but he wants the Senate position in California, the biggest state in the country, that would come with it, a lot more power. So
it sounds like a zombie for me.
Yeah.
If people think they have other zombies or they have more stories about Scott, feel free to share with us.
Yeah,
we'd love to know more about the tea.
Yeah. I'm sure that we missed some things about Scott that are similarly annoying to some of the characteristics that we listed out. Also wanted to let people know that you can follow the podcast if you liked what you heard and want to learn more about other people out there who are similarly zombified and pray at the altar of Israel, basically. You can follow the podcast online on Instagram, on TikTok for now, at least, unless it's banned, and also Blue Sky. And please, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give it 5 stars and review us to help people find the podcast.
We're peacing out.
All right.
Cut.
Later.